I'm Jessica C. Davis, Editorial Director of Channel E2E, here today with Kaseya CEO Fred Voccola, who has led Kaseya for the last 10 years. Thank you so much for joining me today, Fred, for some quick questions after your recent Kaseya Connect event.
Oh, Jessica, thanks for having me. As we said right before this, I apologize for my voice and if I'm hacking and coughing and a little under the weather. But I'm glad to be here and super pumped.
Excellent. I'm going to jump right in so we don't keep you too long. You've said Kaseya 365 is the culmination of your plan since you took on the role of CEO 10 years ago. Tell us about how that idea and plan formed for you and why it took 10 years.
Yeah, so it obviously wasn't just me. It was a number of us little less than 10 years ago, we started looking at at Kaseya and the company and really what MSPs, what they need, want, what could change the MSP industry for hopefully for the better. And we saw a really unique opportunity to leverage the assets that Kaseya had. I mean, Kaseya was the first RMM company, market leader in RMM, and RMM is, as you and most know, is managing endpoints, and endpoints are kind of the core access to all digital assets, whether the endpoint's a PC, a phone, a server, a virtual server, whatever it may be, or at the time what they were defined as. So our thought process was very analogous to what happened in the early to mid 90s in the office productivity space. For those of us that are a little older, we remember when Lotus was the dominant spreadsheet and WordPerfect was the dominant word processing engine. Harvard Graphics, people might remember Harvard Graphics was the dominant presentation layer software. And Microsoft, what they recognized was a couple of things. One, they recognized that the typical office worker or white collar worker, not only would they have a computer, but they're going to want to access these critical applications in little segments. They're going to want to use a word processor 20 minutes a day. They might want to create a document, or they might want to use a spreadsheet 10 minutes a day. They might want to build a model or edit something that someone sent to, et cetera, build a presentation. So what Microsoft realized was the importance of all of these different productivity applications, not as independent applications, but as functions of one application. And they then came out and called the bundle Office, but it wasn't just a bundle of products. What Microsoft did, which was just so brilliant, I remember I was living it back then, it was so brilliant. What they realized was how these products integrated with each other and how, or now the term could be how they automated a lot of the workflows, is what made Microsoft Office so special. And the analogy that just jumps to mind was Lotus was the dominant spreadsheet by far. Lotus 1, 2, 3, we all probably learned on it and when we took our spreadsheet classes. And everyone used Lotus. So Microsoft said was, well, Lotus is great. We have Excel. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But Excel is integrated throughout all of the other products that you're using as an office worker. So for example, if you're building a presentation and you want to insert a table into your presentation, you right click in PowerPoint and you insert table. That table is really Excel that you're putting in. And that kind of changed everything. That example of a workflow, not that one specific workflow, but that example changed everything because so many things happen then. Now, when you go to spell check your slide, it will not only spell check the words that are in the slide, which is very embarrassing. You have misspellings in a slide. We've all been there many times. But it also will spell check the words and the headers of the columns that you put into your table, all in one place. And if you want to make a change to your table, you just change it right there inside your slide. Try doing that with Lotus 123 and Harvard Graphics, you can't. You're printing the image from Lotus and you're using the cut application, you're pasting it to Harvard Graphics, and you're locked in, and there's a different spell checking algorithm between all the different products. It was tough. So Microsoft realized that, and what they did was they made it one integrated application, or they automated or eliminated all these manual steps and errors. They also then said, we're going to include, we now have this application called Microsoft Office. It has everything that you need. It's very integrated, automated, and they're going to charge less for Office than Lotus was charging just for their spreadsheet. So they made it accessible to everybody. And, then as things changed, the internet, became more mainstream. They included a browser, right? Internet Explorer, that was the original browser. And that browser was integrated with everything. And they came out with OneNote, and OneNote was integrated, and Teams, and everything else that they've done over the years. And it's really made life a lot. Imagine what life would be like without Microsoft Office.
Yeah.
It would be very, I think that the average person's, the knowledge worker's life would be less good. And they made it very affordable. So we looked at the MSP market and we said, oh my gosh, the MSPs, these multifunctional engineers or multifunctional technicians, they're doing 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 different things in their day. So the analogy of doing word processing for a little bit of the day and spreadsheet a little bit of the day, et cetera, is like doing backup or patch management or network monitoring or IT documentation or whatever they're doing. And we said, look, if we can build a platform that includes all of the functionality that the multifunctional engineers of an MSP need to use in one place and integrate the technologies so that we can automate most of the common processes that they do, make it look and feel the same. When you use any Microsoft product, you kind of know how to use it because you're familiar with the motif of the interface. If we can make it familiar, of a common look and feel, that would be amazing. And then if we can charge like 1/2 for our platform versus what MSPs have to pay for all the different pieces of kit they use, we can change this industry for the better. We can really make a difference. We can make the engineers much more efficient, much more automated, make fewer mistakes, and spend a lot less money on the technology. Everybody wins. So that was when we started the journey, and it was a long journey. The second question was, why 10 years?
Yeah.
My board asks me that every week. What the hell are you doing, Voccola? It's taking you 10 years. Because it's not easy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, more unfortunately, we make a lot of mistakes. But the first part is, just like Microsoft did, it's very, I hate to use the word impossible because impossible is an absolute term, but it's very difficult to just build 17 or 42 different pieces of technology from scratch. It's not the engineering only. It's the product management. It's understanding the given market and what the products do. So we made a lot of acquisitions. We bought the best in most of the categories that are IT complete. And then we integrated them together. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. And, while doing that, it's not just building a product. You have to build a company.
Yeah.
Which is, we're 5,000 people or so. When we got here, almost 10 years ago, I think we were 300-ish. So just hiring and growing that much, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And also, if you think about how long it took Microsoft, it took about 10, 12 years as well.
Right.
It's just not super easy to do. I think strategy is easy. Execution's hard.
Yeah.
Execute on this strategy, we make some mistakes. You take, hopefully for every one step backwards, you're taking 3 or 4 steps forward. So your customers and partners benefit from it. But I wish we could have done it in 6 months. My board wishes, my investors wish we could have done it in 6 months. The market wishes we could have done it in 6 months. But I also don't know if the market would have been ready for it 9, 10 years ago.
Right. That makes sense.
A lot has changed, especially in the cybersecurity stuff. Like if you go back 9, 10 years ago, ransomware was, it wasn't a huge deal.
And we're too small to be a target, right?
Yeah, and SMBs were still in the first quarter of their digital transformation. The MSP sector, a lot of MSPs were still doing break fix 10 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot, if you go 10 years ago, the most common security solution for an MSP was, we'll put antivirus on the machine. That was it. And the world has changed and it's gotten much more complex. The challenge that MSPs face of having to do more, like so much more, while still not being able to get the amount of revenue that they should. It's gotten worse. It's gotten harder. So a lot of profit pressure is put on MSPs, which I think now the Kaseya 365 solution is really kind of hitting that sweet spot. So in a way, we got lucky that it took us 10 years to do it. That's what I tell my board.
Good answer. Good answer. You pretty much answered my next question, which was, what are the goals of Kaseya 365? I want to ask you now about the response you've gotten so far to the bundle and to the promotional pricing since you announced that packaging.
Yeah, so K365 is a license or a subscription. So it's not so much a bundle. I understand why you're saying it, but
Fair enough.
It's important to realize the license. Excuse me. And the response has been more than what we had expected. And it's been it's been 7 days, I think, since we announced Kaseya 365, maybe eight days, depending on when this gets viewed. And it's been 7 days from now, I believe. Right. And we have over 1,600 MSPs signed up to it.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's a lot.
Now, were these existing Kaseya partners or
the majority of them are existing partners, because the focus was first take care of our current partners and upgrade them. We have a backlog of over, I'm looking at a report literally right now. We have a backlog of over 1,000 orders to process. That's on top of the ones that we have already processed.
Okay. So, and I understand that people can register their interest at your website, right?
Yeah. Yeah, go to the website. Yes, you can go to our website. You can also talk to your account managers if you're a current partner. There's a lot of ways of doing it. But so the demand has been I hate to use the word overwhelming. Very, very, very positive, very strong. Now, and I think that'll continue, because when I think about MSPs, look, one of the cool things about the job that I have now, just because I get to talk to a lot of MSPs. I love our employees. We have thousands of employees. Watching people's careers change, all that stuff is fantastic. Talking to partners is great. We have thousands of them, but our partners are mostly business owners, and that's like neat. I don't know very many vendors at scale where the vast majority of their customers are small, meaning sub 100 employee business owners. So these are like super smart people, people have built a $10 million business. They own a $10 million business. That's a lot of our customers, the majority of them. These are smart people, interesting stories. And when you hear about the commercial challenges that they're facing, finding talented people, right? Making sure they can automate as much as possible, because labor's, it's the biggest cost of an MSP.
Yeah.
Trying to get their customers, the end customer of an MSP, to realize the threats that exist, that the cyber criminals are targeting small to mid-sized businesses. Yeah, we all read about what happened to MGM and Caesars and things like that. But I don't know, 90x% of the cyber criminal activity is targeting the customers of MSPs.
Right.
And try to tell an architect that the large hacker groups around the world are targeting them for $80,000 ransom. They'll be like, go to hell, you're crazy. They're going after Citibank and Caesars and MGM. Like, and they struggle and they say, listen, it's hard, it's competitive. And I think what we tried to do with Kaseya 365 is for that license to solve these issues.
Yeah.
And not be a software company that sits in our ivory tower and like tweaks our mustache and, and says, oh, we know what the market wants and we're going to design a cool product. It's just take a very pragmatic approach to sit down, shut up, listen to the problems of our constituents, of our partners, and then try to solve them. Like old school 101 kind of like stuff. And I think that for all of our faults and all the many things that we do wrong, one of the things that we do really well as a company is we put more effort into being a customer-centric organization, to listening. We screw up, but I promise you, we put twice as much effort as anybody into trying to make it a better life for our customers. I think with K365, we've done it. We're helping them on the automation piece substantially. I mean, look, this license includes all the essential functionality to manage and secure and back up most of the client's environments. So, we're including a ton of automation with that. Second thing, and this kind of got missed a little bit because the financial value of it is so great, right? The price is so sexy or so desired. Right. But if you talk to 10 MSPs, I bet 9 of them will say some derivative of the following, that their customers don't allow, so the end customer of an MSP is not allowing, AKA paying, the advanced cybersecurity requirements from that MSP. And that MSP has to make a tough choice. Do I take on and continue to work with the architecture firm that's only paying me $100 a month per user or per endpoint because they won't pay the extra $40 a month for the advanced security?
You're talking about the MDR, right? You're talking about the MDR.
MDR, EDR, yeah, yes, exactly. And even some of the advanced patch stuff, like that's a dilemma that a lot of MSPs face, because if that architecture firm in this example, if something happens to them, the MSP is getting blamed no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's no matter what. And Kaseya 365 eliminates, I don't want to say eliminates, it gives that MSP another option. They can say, Mr. or Mrs. Architect, we're going to give you this advanced security stuff. And if they won't pay for it, the MSP can do it. And it's not financially, they can financially do that. They can't otherwise. They just can't. And then, of course, in most cases, I'd say half the cases, the MSPs are able to, get customers to see value, and their profit margins go so up with Kaseya 365. So that extra financial margin that they make gives them the flexibility to, yes, make more profit, but also not have to compromise their service delivery at all.
Right.
And that's just, that feels good. You're able to, you don't, it's like the doctor. Sometimes doctors in the medical system, it stinks because they have to see so many patients in order to pay their bills.
Right.
Imagine if now the doctor gets an extra $50 or $100 per patient, they can actually spend a little more time with their patient and not just run them through like a factory. It's analogous to that, and I think we've had a lot of success. I think that's why we're seeing such demand for it.
Right. And just in case anyone missed it last week, the Kaseya 365 announcement was this license that included these really core functions that MSPs offer to their end customers for a very low price. And along with that announcement that you made last week, you also announced the Partner First Pledge, which I understand from talking to some of your other executives, really codified things you already had available in your user licenses and added maybe another thing or two to that. What is and that really seemed to resonate with the partners I talked to at the event last week. They were as excited about that as they were about Kaseya 365. Why do you think it was important to announce these two things at the same time? And were you surprised by the response to the Partner First Pledge?
Yeah. So the first question is, why at the same time? Just quite frankly, because it was our conference, and it's a big platform, and we get to announce some things. I think so. Talking about the Partner First Pledge, I'll be the first one to say it. It's long overdue. It's a mistake. The fact it's not a mistake. To be very clear. The fact that we had to announce it in that way, or to codify it, or to productize it as we formalize it. It's something that it's one of the mistakes that we've made.
That you didn't promote it before.
Yeah, that we didn't promote it, but also as you scale a business and as you grow, a lot of people talk about the challenges of scaling. Going from 300 people to 5,000 people and some of the challenges are, oh my gosh, you have to have so much more HR and so much more paperwork and like office space and easy things to solve for. Other things are, how do you make sure that you properly communicate to your customer base everything? How do you make sure that there aren't pockets of information that aren't communicated right? There's so much that goes into scale. Yeah. And as we've been growing, I think that we did not do a good job of, as you said, codifying, I like that word better, or formalizing or productizing some of the best practices that we do that make a huge difference for customers. And that's my fault. And that probably was my fault, and it probably did not make a lot of our partners feel particularly good. And so we felt the need to, on at a stage like Kaseya Connect, to be super direct about what the P1P or the Partner First Pledge really is. And I think one of them is making sure that everyone knows, every partner knows every single thing we sell. We offer it on a 1-year deal or a 3-year deal, making sure people recognize that. I think some of the other things were things that we've always done. We just didn't do them as a matter of standard practice. We did them, as a matter of helping a customer out on a one-off basis. Yeah. Well, that's fine when you have 500 partners. You have 55,000 partners. It's difficult to scale. So we felt the need to do it. And yeah, to your second point, I think a lot of the partners really felt good about it. They knew that take catastrophic loss.
Yeah.
There is no way on God's green earth, if a customer last year called us up and said, hey, I lost my biggest customer. Can you help me? Of course we help them. We would, if we wouldn't help them, we'd be the biggest jerks in the world. Like, of course we'd do that. But if people don't know it, they don't know to ask. And shame on us for putting it on partners to have to ask for these things, and it was a mistake of omission. And that's why we decided to over communicate it in form once.
That's excellent. And I know partners were really excited to hear about that last week. Another one of the questions that I heard walking around Kaseya Connect last week was around the pricing on Kaseya 365. And my goodness, how can Kaseya afford to offer this kind of pricing? Is this going to affect Kaseya's financials? What's your response to that?
I think it'll make our financials. It will affect them. It'll affect them in a positive way, not a negative way. So it's very similar to, how did Microsoft do it? How did Microsoft charge less for Microsoft Office than Lotus charged for Lotus 1-2-3? I think Microsoft did okay. Microsoft is Microsoft, and Lotus is, because they got bought by IBM and they probably disappeared inside of IBM. Here's how we can do it. One is a lot of very heavy technical lifting and good hardcore engineering work. So you asked earlier, why did it take 10 years? There was a lot of factors around it, other than just trying to time the market perfectly, which was the joke. But we spend a ton of time optimizing the efficiency of our technologies. So any SaaS company will tell you that compute and network and data management, there's a lot of ways of making products either more expensive or less expensive, or a non-financial way of looking at it from an engineer is how efficient is your technology? How many IOs are you doing? Where are you doing your processing? Do you have your own data centers, public cloud, you both? Like, there's so many factors around it. And we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on hardcore engineering to make these technologies incredibly efficient. So when you look at the gross margin profile of Kaseya 365, the amount of how expensive is it to run these technologies? It's best in class. Our margins, there's no loss leader. Someone asked me, is this a loss leader? Absolutely not.
Right.
I would put our engineering group up against anybody on this planet. The work that Ron John's team has done, and there's so many people, this is really hardcore stuff. It's outstanding work. So yeah, our gross margin profile is as good, if not better, than all the public company competitors that we see, because we see their statements and we see what they are. So very, very comfortable making this decision. The second part to this business model, most software companies are B2B software companies, the cost of sales and marketing is the biggest cost they have. It's what it is, sales, marketing, and administrative and things like that. And with us and with our MSP partners, we don't incur that cost every time we sell something new. So we can afford to be, not only because our technology is the most efficient, is very, very efficient, but because our overall business model, our sales and marketing model is very efficient. So it allows us to be able to pass that savings forward.
You spend less on sales and marketing than your competitors? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know about that. Many of our, in aggregate, we're bigger than all of our competitors, so we probably spend more dollar amount. But
percentage-wise.
Yeah, the efficiency of our go-to-market, like how much recurring revenue we generate for every dollar that we spend in go-to-market is best in class in the industry.
Okay.
So it allows us to be more efficient, which allows us to spend more money on technology and also pass a lot of that money forward to our customers. But the biggest piece to that is the COGS, or the efficiency of how our technology runs, is just unbelievable.
And I guess that leads to the next question, which is whether Kaseya expects to expand its market share. Oh, it looks like I'm on mute here.
No, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Whether Kaseya expects to expand its market share as a result of Kaseya 365, and whether that's sort of part of your simulations when you were looking at how to offer this financially.
I mean, I think the answer is without a doubt, yes. We're a for-profit company, and we think that we have the right platform that every single MSP, not 50% or 70%, we think every single MSP can use our product and get huge amounts of automation and save a ton of money. So, I guess the answer is, the expectation and the hope is yes, that we will, we'll expand our market share and hopefully keep providing the best platform to as many MSPs as we can.
Fantastic. And then I know that at our publication channel E2E, we have a big focus on mergers and acquisitions in the MSP market. I know Kaseya staged an M&A day at Kaseya Connect. And as one of as a CEO of one of the largest technology companies serving MSPs, I guess I'm wondering if you can share your outlook on what the M&A market looks like in the year or two ahead for MSPs.
Yeah. So, and like you said, we talked a lot about this, Jess, at the forum. And
Yeah.
I think we have with the MSP space is an interesting dichotomy. We have the amount of M&A or mergers / acquisitions is growing. I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but I think in 2024, we're projecting to be a little bit above the total number in 23. The number in 23 is substantially more than, say, in 2020 and 21. So the rate of M&A is slowing down, but it's still at an all-time high and it's going to continue to grow. And that makes sense that the rate of increase slows down because 8 years ago there might have been 100 and now there's 1,500 or whatever the numbers are. It's hard to grow at that rate continuously.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're seeing more new MSPs enter the market than we are seeing MSPs get acquired. So while there's a lot of increase in acquisitions, there's not consolidation, meaning there's not fewer MSPs out there. And that leads a couple of conclusions. One is the market is massive. And that's the big driver around all of this stuff, is that the end customer of MSPs, small to mid-sized businesses around the world, they're digitally transforming. They're spending so much money on technology, and they don't have the internal IT capacity to do it, so they use MSPs. So that's why the market's doing so well. And we see that continuing for at least 10 years. That trend we think we're in the beginning of that trend. The other things that we see in M&A is that a lot of professional investors, or smart money, as it's called, private equity firms, large family offices, et cetera, have come into the MSP space. Because in the last 10 years, MSPs have done just an awesome job of making their businesses more valuable. They've moved from break fix to recurring revenue. And most successful MSPs that have created value, they have this revenue backlog. They're selling multi-year contracts to their customers. And they're growing. The market's huge. So you have a huge addressable market, or TAM, total addressable market. You have a recurring revenue model. And that's under contract, or that's backlogged, if you will. And that allows debt to be put onto these assets, onto these MSPs. So if you're a professional money investor, a private equity firm, whatever, if you have that and you can leverage debt on it, you can really juice your return. It's analogous to if you borrow money to buy a house and you sell your house, you make more money than you make a huge return on your down payment because you're also making the profit on the amount of the mortgage, right? Same idea. So we're seeing a lot of that happening, a lot of it. The rate has slowed down a bit because interest rates have come up, and it's not always easy to put together 5, 10, 15, 20 companies. And sometimes you jumpstart and you slow down to get it together, then you'll keep going. And we're seeing that. But yeah, I think that there's going to continue to be a lot of M&A around the world. And I don't see that changing.
Exciting times for sure.
Very much.
Last question for you. Any emerging trends that will impact MSPs in 2024 and 2025, in your opinion, that people should be watching out for? And how will Kaseya address any emerging MSP needs?
Yeah, so I would say AI, and I would say, how do you solve AI? Use Kaseya. That's the cheap version.
It's in Kaseya. The AI is in there.
Yeah,
so.
man, the Cooper's in Kaseya. I got
Yeah.
got
Oh, you
picture,
got Cooper
got
there.
picture of him right
Okay.
here. There he is. Nobody can see it. But I think that I think the biggest external impacting event on MSPs for the next several years is going to be regulation and compliance. 2 regulations.
Yeah.
I think that we're starting to see it. So for better or for worse, I spend a decent amount of time in Washington and understanding what these issues are, understanding how the government and the different agencies are thinking about either self-regulating it, legislatively regulating it, combinations of the various things.
And you're talking about MSPs or MSPs customers?
I'm talking about IT security, end customers of MSPs, like all of the above.
Right.
And I think it's very safe to say that complying with various standards, whether those standards are imposed by government, whether they're recommended by private industry groups, whether it's self-regulation, whether it's supply chain, vendor management kind of things, I think that we are going to see that hitting small to mid-sized businesses very, very soon. If not, and we're already seeing it already. FedRAMP is a real thing. CMMC is a real thing. A lot of MSPs that are dealing with federal defense supply chains, even 3-4 levels down, are going to find next year they may not be able to do business with these customers anymore. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and how even the self-regulation of various standards. Some organizations might say, if you don't meet the standard, we just won't work with you anymore. Not that we can't, we won't, we'll choose to. Cybersecurity is becoming a very real thing. Most people are not cybersecurity experts, so they look for some form of standard to comply with, so they at least know people are doing that level. And I think that's a big thing. I think if I'm an MSP, I'm looking at that as an opportunity. No one likes regulation, whether it's government or non-government. It's a pain in the butt. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like, you can't stop the boulder from falling down a mountain. Now, MSPs have the opportunity to step in front of it and to make sure that they are the deliverers of the solution for compliance. And whatever that means, first of all, they got to make sure that they are able to be compliant for themselves into whatever standards, but also their customers. This is going to impact everybody. This cybersecurity phenomenon that's happened in the last 7 years is impacting the economy in a similar way to what organized crime did in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. There's a real tax that society faces due to that.
Yeah.
I think that's how organized crime was dealt with by the FBI and the police and stuff when it was really bad in the US. And that option isn't here. Like, it's different. It's too big. It requires like self-protection and self-governance, and that means compliance. And I think that MSPs have a huge opportunity if they really educate themselves as to what's happening and position themselves. Of course, Kaseya has a big compliance business. It's one of our fastest growing businesses. We provide software and technology to help MSPs do that. But even aside from Kaseya, this is the manifestation of the impact of security on our society, and MSPs have the ability to be the deliverer of that for SMBs.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Thank you so much, Fred, for joining me today and sharing your thoughts with us about a whole range of topics. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much as well, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks.